And I am so excited. I already have two people up here. I did not really advertise this as much, so I'm sure people are going to start coming in. This is distracting me right now, so this is going to get moved. But let me get started with just a lot of you may have clicked on the thumbnail because it brought some interest. So I want to just quickly share with you who I am. My name is Ailani. I am a former public and private school teacher, and I am a homeschool evaluator in the state of Florida. So that basically means in the state of Florida, if you live in Florida, you have to have an evaluator, a former certified, not former certified, but certified teacher. Hello. Hi, Jen. You have to have a homeschool evaluator just come in, check to make sure you have a portfolio. And usually the person who is evaluating you is most of us are homeschool parents ourselves, and we are knowledgeable of the laws. We write the paperwork, you send it to the district. And so I've actually been homeschooling. So I was in the public school system 10 years, and then I have been within the homeschool. I don't know if it's called like a movement. Let me know what you guys call it. Is it a movement or is it a homeschool arena? I don't know. But basically a homeschool world. I've been a part of that for now 10 years. And I know, like I could say I've been homeschooling my kids for 12 years, but if you want to start with kindergarten up, it would be what, 7 years? 7 years I've been homeschooling. So I put out a little thing on Instagram just asking you guys if you had any questions that you wanted me to answer. I'm also going to be doing this just for the heck of it. Since I am slowing down, I'm doing one video a week just for the summer. I want to do this live homeschool community. Good, that works. I like that better actually. Homeschool community. So I'm going to do these lives. I think I'm going to do them once a week just for the next 4 weeks because I'm going down to one video to make my life easier. So, and that's funny because I just did your evaluation. So I was going to segue into the fact that I've been doing lots of evaluations. So a lot of my time, that's where a lot of my time is going. So actually most of my time is going to my kids. So, and then the homeschool evaluations and then the book release. And I'm actually working on the audiobook right now, which segues. So I put this thing up on Instagram asking you guys if you had any questions. Of course, I didn't, because I really did this last minute. I didn't push it as much as I wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions. And then if you guys have any questions on here, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. And the next Sunday, I'm going to make it 9:30 because I was a little bit late today because it was really difficult getting my kids into bed and just all those things. So I'm going to make it 9:30 for the next, until summer is up. So I'm thinking like end of August. It seems like August 23rd is when a lot of co-ops are starting. I know public school is in a different schedule, but let's say till end of August, so to speak. We'll do one live every Sunday and see how it works. If it works really well, I'll just keep doing lives through the year. If it doesn't, then, feel free to email me questions. Anyway, and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. So I did want to answer some of these questions that some people sent me. And so I've been talking about doing this audiobook a lot. So like I said, if you guys have questions, just leave it in the comments. If I answer one of these questions and it spurs on a question that you guys may have, or if you have any feedback to add to these questions, feel free to just chime in through the comments. And as I catch them, I'll try to read them a little bit. Okay, so the first question that I got, very simple. When will your audiobook be released? And so that one, because I mentioned I'm working on the audiobook right now, it's a lot because I'm narrating it. I'm not hiring I want to narrate it. It's just better. I like it. It's just something I'd rather do than have somebody else try to read. So I don't know. It really depends on how fast I'm putting it together. I'm doing about 5 chapters a week. And then I have to upload to Amazon. And once it uploads to Amazon, they have to do a check to see if I meet all the Audible requirements. And if I do, then they'll put it out on Audible. And then that it's out. So I'll keep you guys posted. Probably just through Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure to follow me as well if you're curious about that. Another person said your book was a great read. I'm curious, are you going to write another one? The answer is yes. I've started like brainstorming it, but I have a lot of things that I want to say. And I want to go a little bit deeper into more biblical perspective worldview, because the book that I wrote, Freedom to Learn, was for pretty much any type of homeschool mom, regardless of your background, your faith, that kind of stuff. But from a believer's Christian perspective, it goes, I want to get deeper into that. So that's kind of the plans for the second book. I mean, it might be, I don't know how long it's going to take me. If you guys really want, let me know if you want me to hurry up and write it, and I'll put that on top of my priority list. But I've had a lot of thoughts about that. Okay, so this one's more about special education. So like I said, I opened this up basically for just any questions that you guys might have. I didn't really theme it, like I said, last minute kind of thing. This person wrote down that they have tried every single spelling curriculum out there, and they listed just a bunch of the ones that they've used. And then they said, nothing seems to work. My child has autism, and do you have any suggestions? So the first couple things that came to mind, I did email her back, but I did want to address this because this does seem, and you guys might have some really good feedback as well. But with some kids, okay, so I'm going to quote Rachel from Seven and All. She always says some kids just don't learn how to spell, and that's why a computer comes in handy. I suggested, also she mentioned that her child who had autism is also nonverbal. So I had a conversation with my speech therapist for Naomi the other day, and we were talking about reading, and we were talking about handwriting and spelling and all of those. And she said what happens to a child that is nonverbal, developmentally, they miss this stage when the voice, I can't remember the exact word she used, but basically like phonics or finagle, I think is what she said, the ability to speak develops in a child that is verbal. They skip over this step and they develop their language a lot later in life. So because what happens developmentally, children have these stages that they go through developmentally. And when there is somebody who has a disability, or they're nonverbal, or just learning disabilities, if there's a disability in that area, they don't get to develop what they need to develop at that given time. And so they're going to develop it later on in life, and it's going to be harder, first of all, and there may be some issues that come up here and there. That's also why those of us that try to learn a foreign language when we're in our 30s or 40s or 20s or teens, we have a really hard time learning it. Not to mention that the public school system in and of itself, the way that they structure foreign language, is not a really good way to learn. But that's a whole nother thing that I've been thinking on a lot lately. But so she skipped that step. So if this boy has autism, he probably has also skipped this step. And what Naomi's speech therapist suggested to me, along with a book that I'm reading, try to teach them with sight words. Get out the words that they use the most frequent words. I know there's lists out there, but try to keep them, don't worry about like the conjunctions. Focus on adjectives, verbs, nouns. Start with those. Eventually you can add in like is and I and to, and also like those words you can start to add in, but focus on the high frequency words that they use and that they will probably come across. Things that they're familiar with, like families, like me, like mom, dad, those kind of words, and start to build that through spelling and just do list and read and write. There's also, I don't think she used this program, but it's the spelling first, spell right, then read. Rate, I don't know, but I think it's spell right, read, but it goes about it backwards. And I think it has a really good philosophy behind it. I liked it. I wish that I was brave enough to start with that curriculum with my kids. I wasn't because I was so used to the traditional model. But when I read about it and learned about it, I thought it was right on. My sister-in-law used that curriculum with her son who has autism, and he actually became very obsessed with, and it's not level 1 autism. He's not what they call, I know they changed Asperger's to type or level 1, but he doesn't have Asperger's. But what I was saying is that he did become obsessed with grammar rules. There you go, spell to write and read. That's what it's called. And what I was saying is he became obsessed with spelling rules and grammars and phonetics. So, and he was definitely delayed verbally too. So, and he did that curriculum. Um, so I don't think she mentioned that on the list. But there's also the idea of doing sight words. So those are just some suggestions that I had for her. I don't know if you guys have any suggestions as well for her, or if you have any questions. The other question I had, because I did kind of advertise this as me being an evaluator for homeschooling. So one person just flat out asked me, what does an evaluation look like? So I am going to specifically talk briefly, because I know not all of you live in the state of Florida. And it's also kind of interesting to find out what we do in Florida. Because people move to Florida and they get really, really nervous with homeschool evaluations, because it's almost like you have the certified teacher come and evaluate your kid, and you're worried that they're going to say, oh, they didn't do good enough in this area, or they got a C, or, they grade them. That's not the case. So the Florida law is actually very, very specific, and it's very, very specific on the parents' side. Well, I guess it's not very specific, but it's for the parents. It backs up the parents very nicely. I don't have it memorized. I wish I had it in front of me. But basically it says the parents determine what the portfolio looks like. The portfolio can include anything from book lists to pictures, and they have a list of ideas, but doesn't mean that the portfolio has to have all those things, because the way it's worded, I think it's worded as it can include, but the parent still decides what goes into the portfolio. So I've opened up portfolios that may have like maybe 10 samples of math, but then they print out all the grades or their transcripts in there, and that's their math portion of the portfolio. But the idea is the evaluator is just seeing if the child made improvements through the year. So if it's just simply that instead of or beginning of the year they don't know a multiplication, but at the end of the year they do, that's an improvement. The other thing that we cannot do as an evaluator is critique. We cannot give them a grade. We cannot pass or fail. And the other thing that is also important to know, because I know another concern that does come up is, well, what if the evaluator doesn't think that I did a good enough job? So from my experience, knowing other evaluators that are also homeschool parents, because pretty much all of us are homeschool parents, because we look out for each other, because that's kind of how it works in Florida. We got each other's back. I know I do. I'm really kind of protective of my families. But I forgot my line of what I was saying. I totally forgot my ADHD clipped in. But so as an evaluator, okay, so what I'll say to them is, if you're concerned about that, okay, one, if they don't pass you, don't pay them. And don't give them your information until you're comfortable giving it to them, if that makes sense. So, and interview them. Always, always try to interview them. Um, the form that is sent to the district, the one that I use is just pass only. There's no check mark that says fail. I know that some districts in the state of Florida have made their own forms and made it, there's some counties that have made it very particular, but by law, you are not required to give all that information to the state. And so I have sat down with a lawyer from HSLDA. I have talked to them whenever they come to FPEA, which I love going to. I always make it a point to go to anything that they're teaching on when it comes to updates with laws and legal stuff. And I've sat down with them. I've sat down with Umbrella School. Like I've sat down. And so I make sure that I know the laws. And that's one of the things they push is that you're only required to give, I mean, technically all you're required to give is your signature, like my signature, saying that they met the requirements, and then name and address and parent's name. That's it. And you don't need like all these other little things that the districts put on the forms. And the districts do tend to kind of push back a little bit, but usually, if you're honest with them and open with them, usually you can kind of work with them, like if you know your laws and stuff. One of the things that my parents run into is they'll go into a school and try to re-enroll their child, and then the guidance counselor wants to see their portfolio to see if they really did homeschool. And I always say, like, that's up to you, but you don't have to. I know that once you are now in the back, like if you enroll back into public school, the school now determines what grade your child is in, and you as a parent no longer have a say. So that's why as an evaluator, I can't give that grade at all. Like and actually in the statute itself, it will say nobody in the district can give you a grade, like you're in 7th grade or 6th grade or whatever, unless you are enrolling in a public school of something. So if you're doing sports with the public school, then you give them the grade. I hope that makes sense. I've made videos on it. I have a video. It's like 3 years old. It's when I first started doing YouTube, and I was trying to be all like super like happy and bubbly, and I look at it now, I'm like, oh, this is so cheesy after I make it. So yes, you're welcome. I'm glad. I saw the numbers of people coming in is going up. So people are really asking that question about evaluators. But anyway, all the information is in that super cheesy, bubbly video that I made. I'm going to remake it and be a little bit more down to earth and be like, and it's got really cheesy music in the background, and you can laugh at me the entire time you watch that video, but I'll link it in the comment section when I'm done with this. If you want to see it, because all the information is there. And I also have a live where I go through everything. I also have another live that I did that's really organized, because I was testing out some different software on my computer, and I have like this screenshot and then things popping up on the screen. And so it's a lot of really good information, just trying to go through the law. But I don't think anybody should be scared of a homeschool evaluation in Florida, because the parents have so much control. And so when I actually do a homeschool evaluation, I think people do sometimes expect that I'm going to be a little bit more like, you're doing this right or this right. But that's not my call, like, at all. What I do when I do my evaluations is I sit down and I say my casualties, like, hi, how's it going? And oh, it's really nice to see them again. And then I'm like, do you have your portfolio? And then they open it up, and the parent does all the talking for, anywhere from, per child, it could be anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes on average. I have had some parents take longer just because they get really excited, and then we start talking. I may ask a question, just usually the questions I ask just stem from like me being really curious. Not anything to do with whether or not I'm going to pass them. It's more like, oh, we're having coffee and we're talking about what you did with your kid. This is cool. And then at the end or the beginning, depending upon whatever the parent wants to do, I will quote unquote interview the child. And my interviews with the child are kind of look like this, like, hey, how's it going? How was your year? We talk a little bit about that. Like, what was your favorite subject? What was your favorite book that you read? Sometimes if it comes up in that, sometimes, I'm not gonna say all the time, but sometimes like if they're younger and they're really excited about reading, I'm like, do you want to read something to me? Sometimes they'll read to me, sometimes they'll read a story that they wrote. Like they share what they love. Like I want to make their portfolio kind of like that. I want it to be something that is going to build their confidence, to let them know that they've accomplished something. I try to. And of course I do all the paperwork and send it in. And I've never ever there was only one time where a person contacted me, and I've done hundreds of evaluations, and I am not exaggerating when I say that. I have done hundreds of evaluations with hundreds of different kids. There was only one time that I didn't feel comfortable doing that person's evaluation. And I told them up front, I just said, I'm not 100% comfortable doing your evaluation. And it was early on. I think now I would do it. But it was early on when I just started doing evaluations, and I don't want to go too much into detail, but okay. Log of educational activities look like. Log of educational activities. Field trips. Did you take a vacation to Williamsburg, Virginia? Or did you take a class that's the other thing. Field trips, the aquarium, any passes that you may have, like if you have Busch Gardens passes or SeaWorld passes and you go on a regular basis. So field trips, or like classes at the local co-op. So if you took a cooking class at the local co-op, or any workshops that they may have attended, go to the library to do any of those, like the programs at the library. Those are educational. That's a log of educational activities. But again, you don't have to have it, because you still get to decide whether or not, it's suggested. It's a suggestion. It's good to have it in there. It's one of those things where it's like, it's good to have it in there just because it explains a lot of all the extra stuff you did. But if you don't have an educational log in there, it's not, what am I trying to say? You're still going to be able to meet the requirements for the state if you don't have one in there. Because usually, like, to be honest, we talk about a lot of these things. Another question that has also come up, I just might as well just answer all the questions that people ask me when it comes to homes. I hope did I answer your question? Let me know. Good. Okay, cool. Another question that comes up is, a lot of parents may have a kindergartner and they don't have physical work. So they may unschool, or they may Charlotte Mason, school. I can't think of the word right now. They may do a lot of reading. And so they read passages, and then the kid repeats back to them what they read, and they read passages. So what I say to them, just write the book list. Just write the book list that you did. Write a little paragraph summary about what it was like, and the experience you had as a parent. And then if they did any journaling, like drawings, because a lot of kindergartners will go out in nature and do the journaling, like the Charlotte Mason thing, drawings. Unschooling, just list those field trips out, any pictures that you have, stick in there. For unschooling, I'm trying to think. That's usually the gist of unschool portfolios, is list of field trips, list of, they might even have like a paragraph or like a page where you said, this is how we did science this year. And they write out a little paragraph on how they did it. And then that's what's nice about the quote unquote interview, is we have the interview and we talk about it. See, every evaluation looks different because the parent decides what it's going to look like. So I've had some where the parent is the one flipping through the portfolio. Then I've had the other ones where the child is flipping through the portfolio and telling me about their year experience. Those are my favorite. I actually really like it. I like it when the kids do it because it's fun because I get to interact with them. And I think it really builds their confidence too, especially if you get a really good. Um, Thank you, Anna. I know I talk forever. Thank you, Anna. Sorry, she has to go. But yeah. So I love it when the kids do the portfolio evaluations. Those are always fun because I think it's a really good confidence boost overall. Um, Another one is kids that have disabilities that are nonverbal or they can't write. The same thing, just like an unschooling portfolio. I have a lot of kids with special needs, and sometimes it's just a matter of did you read to them? Did you take them to therapies? Because in my mind, when it comes to homeschooling, therapies make up anywhere from 50 to 70% of their schooling. All right. Did not learn to read until the age of, yeah, that's normal. Yep, definitely. I didn't read the rest of that, so I'm going to go back and look at that. This is what she said. So, have you seen very many kids who did not learn to read until age 7? My child was speech delayed. I lost it again. My child was speech delayed and some other issues, and he's just now beginning to realize. He's newly 7. Is that it? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did one where the kid didn't learn how to read until they were 12. And so I had done their evaluations for a while. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't know. I feel like it's private information, but there was learning disabilities, but he still improved. And I mean, that's all we're looking for. And that's another thing too. I'll probably make a video on this too, is that a lot of parents think they can't homeschool their kids with special needs because they're worried that the state is going to hold them, whatever state it is, the state is going to hold them to the benchmarks and the national norms. Yes, just now beginning to read. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Just now beginning to read. Yeah, that's fine. Age 7. I mean, like I said, I had a kid that didn't read till he was 12, and it's totally fine as long as they're making improvements. And like I said, 70% of a lot of kids that have disabilities, learning disabilities, nonverbal, all those things, it's going to take them longer, and that's normal. And you go at their pace. You don't hold them to the standards of the state, because like I said, the state standards, even kids with special needs, the state standards there's a whole nother system involved there. My daughter's not going to be able to read at age 7. I mean, we're starting to do the So Happy to Learn program, but realistically, like, she's not going to be reading. I mean, she's almost 6. We just started it too, so I think age 7 is actually good, especially with nonverbal. I think that's good. So I think I was trying to think of other questions. That reading cue is so great. A is great. I don't understand the question. I'm gonna go back and look at it. That reading cue is so great. ... A is equally as great. I don't know what that is. Can you explain a little bit more? The reading, I don't know. Other questions that you guys may have. And if you're catching this late, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to get to it. Evaluations. I'm trying to think of other questions that people may question and answer. Yeah, question and answer. Yes. Hold on, let me go back to the chats. Right, the reading question is so great. Answer is equally as great. Oh, I see. Is that okay? I think I got it. I thought that was like, you know what I thought? I thought that was like a curriculum called the reading cue. That's where my brain went, like, automatically. Yeah. Every child learns to read when they learn to read. Yeah. That's the truth. and every child develops differently. And that's why homeschoolers are not held to the public school system standards or the benchmarks, and they shouldn't be at all. I do know why, because I did a lot of that research, is that they were really, it's socialism and Prussian school model influenced, trying to make us all like good little factory workers. And you know what? The other thing I want to talk about too is like deschooling. A lot of us go into the homeschool community without being deschooled. And deschooling is this idea where we're trying to get the gunk from the public school system out. Florida is the only state that because I'm certified. Sorry, somebody wrote a comment. Do you only do evaluations in Florida? I don't know. Okay, every state has different requirements for their state. I am certified in Florida. That's where I'm certified. I could get certified elsewhere, but I'd have to go back to teaching, and I don't want to. But I'm only certified in the state of Florida. And the state of Florida requires an evaluation as part of they give you 4 options. Actually, I should be more clear. My state does not allow red shirting, so I had to register him. Okay, I do not understand what red shirting is. Okay, my state does not allow red shirting, so I had to register him as kindergarten when he was 5, and I knew he wasn't ready for formal school. Was that homeschool that you registered him as? I should probably finish my statement before I read comments. I will get better at doing these lives, but I don't know what red shirting is. And did he go to formal school is my question. And was he homeschooled? That would be my next question. I forgot what I was saying before. Red shirting is enrolling in kindergarten at the age of 6 instead of 5. Oh, I learned something. I know state of Florida says that they have to be no later, I think it's March is the cutoff. Like if they're 6 in March, then, so I guess I redshirted all my kids, actually. Yeah. If they're 6 in March, you have to register them. Oh, I have to go back and look at it. It's been a while since I looked at it. I know I have to register. Well, I don't know if I have to register Naomi this year. I should probably look at that, shouldn't I? I'm so busy doing the evaluations, I'm forgetting about the intent to learn. Okay, so he's only homeschooled. I've done that with all 4 of mine. I know I did it. I know Ethan, because his birthday is really late. They have to be 5 by August 1st. See, every state's different. And I forgot what Florida, that's why it's so, HSLDA has an amazing website that has all the state law requirements in there, and you can sort through all of them and read up what your state says. That's why I can only, when it comes to evaluations, I can only speak into Florida. That's it. And see, I'm talking mostly Florida stuff yet. In Florida, it's the February they are 6. February. That's right, I think. Okay, one of my videos talks about it, and I give examples. It's like I did the research, and I'm so busy doing the evaluation side, and actually I've been really into dealing with the high schoolers a lot lately, and that's a whole another thing, because parents that have high school kids, do you do email advice for other states? Yeah, email me. The best I can. I mean, of course, state laws are state laws. Like, I can't really speak against any state law, but the advice that the only advice that, if you want my advice, it's obviously a lot of it is my opinion. When it comes to like curriculum and what works, what doesn't work. And I know some stuff, what works with kids that have special needs, but then again, every kid is different. Like, unless I get to know your kid on an individual usually like people will email me and say, my kid, it has autism. What do you think is good for autism? And then a lot of it is, I can say, typically this works for autism. However, every kid is different, and I don't really know your kid personally. So it's really hard for me to give them advice. However, like when I do evaluations, if there's a parent, I always say at the end of my evaluation, because I can't critique their portfolio or anything like that. I don't want to, because I want it to be one of those like closing, feel good, you did an amazing job this year, learning is fun kind of thing. I always say to the parent, is there anything that you have questions about? Because I want them to initiate the questions. And oh, I'm going to read that comment in a second. It's kind of long, so I didn't get it fast enough. Sorry, I'm getting questions now. This is awesome. So, yeah, so with evaluations, oh, I keep getting distracted with questions. I'm going to look down. Yes, I don't know what I was saying. I'm totally lost. I'm going to get better at doing these lives. I forgot what I was saying. So I'm going to read the comments now. Okay. Email me if you have questions. I will do the best that I can to answer them. I thought, that was the other thing I was going to say. I thought about doing consultations. I actually really, really prayed about it because look, I am not, okay, here's reality. I'm not in this for making money. Okay. Yes, I charge for evaluations because it's my time. But when it comes to YouTube, I don't do like these sit down Q&As. I want like, or you write an email and we could talk about it through I know it's not one-on-one. I mean, obviously if it gets really overwhelming, then I'll charge. But for now, like I'm not really charging. If I can sit down and answer your question via email or via comment, I'm going to do that because I really find like this is something that I've been really into is helping people. It's all about investing in people, not investing in money or finding ways to, no, I want to invest in people and I want homeschool families to do, like, I don't want people to feel like they're in bondage by what the secular school system has instilled in our minds. Like from us going through it, I want our children to be free. That's freedom to learn. I want our children to love learning, the future generation. I care about the future generation and I care about families and the family dynamics. And so I'm not charging if you guys email me. Like I'm not even gonna, I thought about charging for consultations and I was like, it's not about money. I'm happy. I'm fine. Like I'm not starved for money or poor or anything like that. Like this is because I want to invest in you guys. So email me is what I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or ask me questions here, which I love doing this because I love talking. Well, I love talking with people. It's better if it's one-on-one. I've thought about doing Zoom. I don't know. There's a lot of things I'm thinking. Everything I'm thinking about and praying. So I should shut my mouth because if I start talking about it, I'm going to get some of you guys like, oh, do it, do it, do it. But I need to pray about it. Okay. Do I do email advice for other states? Yes. Email me. I feel like I'm rambling so much. All right. We are so excited and nervous to have our first year homeschooling the state of Florida. I've been doing this 8 years. And I don't know why I'm not getting the whole thing. It says, and no, which it doesn't sound like she finished. It didn't finish her statement. And I'm like, that can't be it. She's been doing it. I'm guessing it's like, and no evaluations. I know. It's really nerve-wracking. If I wasn't an evaluator, I would be so nerve-wracked with every evaluation. So that's why it's really good to find one that you trust and you just stick with them. You just stick with them. And I'm big on community too, because I'm very protective of my families. And I've had, okay, fun fact. I have several families that have no idea I have a YouTube channel. How about that fun fact? But that's, I don't feel like telling, I'm not going to like, because I've had them for so long. That was just a side note fun fact. Sorry. I'm like, I just think it's weird that like, they don't know I have a YouTube channel. I feel like I should tell them, but then I don't know. I was like, I just, because I feel like I pray for my families. I take, if they need anything, they just contact me and we go from there. Okay. Do you do history and science every day? I'm not religious about it. How about that? I like to unit study. That's been my new like epiphany this summer. is unit studies. So this summer, and I can tell you live what's happening. We did a poetry unit study. Okay, so I got so into science. I did my science curriculum review, and it was like, I got so excited going through all my curriculum, and my kids did too, because they were seeing me pulling it out and stuff like that. And then I got the Answers in Genesis TV, and we have been in the car, like listening to the Answers in Genesis TV stuff, like and for my 12 and 10-year-old, they're picking it up. My daughter's kind of picking some stuff, but I haven't been doing science experiments. I've been rereading the Taking Back Astronomy book, which is phenomenal. I forgot how good it was. And discussion, just science. So we have been doing science pretty much every single day since we finished the poetry unit study. But then I told my kids, we had like a family meeting today to go through like, okay, what are we going to do this week for school? And I laid out my core subjects. One of my sons is changing out piano for drums, so that was fun. And then we are going to finish the astronomy book this week. And then we're going to start on history, the Middle Ages. And then we're going to unit study history and soak in that. We have taken a break from history. I think we finished history in like April last year. So we haven't done history since then. And that's when we were doing the Romans and the Greeks. So now we're doing the Middle Ages. And we're going to soak in the Middle Ages for a while we're doing our core subjects. And so I'm trying to not overwhelm them with having like all these different subjects. They have to do a little bit of each. So I'm doing a language arts something. I'm doing math and Spanish and then music. And then they have to read for 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day, which is easy because they do that on their own. Also Spanish is a core subject. So other than that, we just rotate through different quote unquote electives, and to me history and science is kind of an elective. We also have devotional, but to them like devotional is not school. So but that's daily. I would say that's core. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I feel like I gave you the long version. Okay, concerning learning to read. I'm so incredibly grateful for seasoned 2 homeschool moms that literally out of nowhere said to me, ... What did she say? I think she's going to write a second, or she wrote a second message. I'm going back because I'm trying. Oh, here we go. Wait until the brain is ready. Yep. As a brand new homeschool mom to my, I think that's preschool, DD, dealing with high function, ASD. Some of the best advice I ever received. Yeah. Yeah, because if you push them, then they hate it, and it's not good. And I've learned that the hard way, too. They'll learn when they're ready. Okay. And I wasn't even asking at that moment at that time. Yeah, that is good advice. I'll read that one more time. Wait until the brain is ready. Yeah, that makes sense. Couple hearts. Great advice, Shay. Yeah, so somebody read her comment. That's Shay, by the way, who said that. Do you do unit studies? How do you plan them? So yeah, I think I just rambled on the unit study. How do I plan them? We have family meetings. I ask my kids what they want to learn. I give them like, do you want to options? Like, do you want to do this, or this next? Because we're going to do these. Pick one. And then they pick one. And then we do it. And then there might be like, I really wanted to do the poetry unit study over the summer. I was like, we're doing this. And I just do it. I just go through the book. So I need to probably show you how I plan. Like every year seems different. No, it doesn't seem different. That's not true. I've really gotten a groove. And you know what's funny is I've settled back into the way I planned when I was a teacher, which is really funny. So I have ADHD. We haven't figured that out. And you know, all those planning notebooks and everything. Well, as a teacher, you know how I planned? I had a sheet of paper and I wrote list all day long. So that's how I plan things out. I plan them with lists. I actually, you know what's funny is I'm holding my book. I'm going to show you. This is my folder. And I don't even know what's in here. But literally anything and everything that's important to me for anything that I do is in this folder. So, I didn't show you what happens when I like open it up, but there's papers that are falling out right here. And it's a lot of scripts that I write for YouTube. And I've got things that I've printed out on scrap paper. So there, see how organized I am? And then in the very front of the book, I write my to-do list. So I'm really big in lists. And then I have it divided into, now I'm just showing you how I plan. I was going to make a video on this. I probably still will, but I have it divided into sections. So if I'm in like the homeschool filing box, I have a whole little section for homeschooling. And I don't want to show you too much because I'm afraid I'm going to accidentally show you personal stuff. But this has to do with the scholarship. Okay, so this was my attempt at trying to be organized. Ready? I made a social media planning calendar. And notice one thing very unique about this calendar. It's empty because I didn't use it. Like it's this attempt to plan and it doesn't happen. And I go right back to writing lists because that's what I default to. And that's what I do. I write list out and I try to I try not to plan too far in advance. Like I get an idea of what I want and then I just focus on the now and I focus like a month at a time, especially with my kids because they keep flip-flopping. But I also have I have everything in here to like my Christmas card list. I have amazing like biblical like things that I reference, like conversations that I have with people that come up over and over again, like Bible referencing sheets that I have that I use when I have like conversations. I have scripts in here. I have contracts in here from anybody that I affiliate with, which I don't affiliate with that many people, but I write it down. For a while, my book, I would print it out and write it in here. And then I think this is supposed to be like a bullet journal, but I know, all these stickers, by the way, I got at Homeschool Convention. And this guy is from Teaching Textbooks. So they sent it to me because they love my video. And then I just started, I'm a high schooler. Remember in high school when we used to decorate our folders? I just kind of basically made this thing mine. And I've had it for a year, actually. So this is how I organize and plan unit studies. I didn't answer I answered too much. I hope it was beneficial. How do I plan unit studies? I just ask my kids what they want to do, give them options, and then I follow the book. Or if I get inspired, see, that's the other thing. If I get inspired, I research my curriculum too. I research my curriculum to see what I like. And when I get in, sometimes I'll get inspired, like a subject will be really, really exciting for me. And I get like science, I get really excited about, or when we did history, I get really super excited about one specific topic, or my son, I still have a 10-year-old and he's still into things. Well, my 12-year-old is too. He likes writing. He's really big into writing. He loves IEW. I laugh because not all kids love IEW, and he loves IEW to the point where, like, so side note, I met Andrew Pudawa and he did a recording for my son, and he was like I recorded on my phone a message to my son, and he was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm torturing you with this." And my son was like, "He's not torturing me. I love IEW." But then I have another kid that's a reluctant writer. Anyway, I'm saying that my kids, they'll get into stuff and they'll be so excited about a certain topic. So if we're doing a unit study on that, I do take a side trip over to that, and I'll allow myself the flexibility to soak in that a little bit. So recently, so we're reading astronomy, right? Somehow my 10-year-old gets into time dilation and special relativity. 10-year-old, 10 guys, 10. Um, and I'm like trying to wrap my head around, well, I mean, I understand it's not easy. Okay. So he's asking me questions about time dilation and relativity and how that has to do with creation. And this is the conversation that we're soaking in. And we're talking about it. And then I've got the others listening and then they're chiming in. We were doing, no, this was more of a teachable moment. It was not a unit study. It was a teachable moment. Yeah, I also think like taking a hold of teachable moments can also turn into unit studies. So, for example, now I'm getting excited. My husband, okay, is a paramedic, which I don't know if you guys know that. My husband's a paramedic. He works crazy hours, crazy hours. And I don't see him much because sometimes he doesn't get home till like really, really late. And then he sleeps all morning. But they were at dinner and my son's like, so did you have any fun calls last night? And of course my husband, who doesn't like to hold back, I mean, if you guys have spouses that are paramedics or firefighters or any of that, there's like this things don't phase them and they don't mind telling kids about the most grossest thing that they experienced that day, which I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to get demonetized or whatever they do on YouTube. So my husband's telling this really gross story to my kids, and all of my kids are so engulfed in this, even my 8-year-old girl, because she's feeling really sorry for this person, even though the person was dead in the story. But she just, what had happened, she was so upset emotionally. It was so traumatizing. She wasn't traumatized. She's pretty tough. I don't think she was traumatized, but then it turned into, well, what happens when you see someone who can't breathe? Well, what is CPR? How do you find your pulse? What, where do your blood vessels go? And it turned into like this full hour of science experiments to the point where I'm like, well, do you guys want to study this stuff? Like, do you want to learn more about anatomy? Like, we can do anatomy again. So I think like those teachable moments can kind of turn into a unit study because your child is showing interest in that. And I think that we all need to be like really flexible to allow something like that to happen. And that is why I like to not really, I try to plan out my year and I always fail. Like it never happens. And I know it's like really trendy, like what is your plan for the next year, school year? And I'm like, this is what I'm going to, but I can only hit on certain things. Like I know that I want to do Middle Ages with them, and I know that I want to do poetry with them, and I know we're doing forensic science this year. And I know that I want to do all these things with them, but I don't book it up so much that they don't have the freedom to ask questions and maybe as a family delve into something else that is interesting to them, if that makes sense. So those are my thoughts. I had talked a lot again. I'm really talkative. Let me see the other questions. I have 2 more questions, unless you guys have any others. And now learning a new state. Sorry. Okay, I have emailed you and so looking forward to the evaluations. So because your channel name is different than I don't know which one, who you are, because her title is One Household Under God. So I don't know. Just let me know when I evaluate you. Hopefully, yes, my emails are congested. I'm trying to get through them and try to keep myself organized because they get congested. I've got over 1,000 emails that I still have to go through, but 70% of that is junk mail or like newsletters and stuff. Okay. And how do you motivate your kids to not dawdle through their work? Mine is going into 3rd grade. You can take 10-minute math sheets and stretch it into an hour. They are so distracted and talkative. Yeah, I'm working through that like every day. So, and there's a lot of distractions. And it's, like there's a couple things that I've tried. The one that works for me the most is if I'm present, like physically present, which can't always happen. Sometimes reading. So some of our kids learn best, they're auditory learners. Some are visual learners. And So those auditory learners, if you stand there, and there's other things too, like other things as in like why it's good to stand over them and read to them. So happens a lot in math. That's the first example that comes to mind. So you see the problem and you're like, okay, 3,110 multiplied by 64. What's the first step? And then we'll say, okay, this to this. Okay, so you're multiplying, I forgot what number I said, 2 times 4. What's the answer? So even though they're giving me the steps on what to do next, I'm repeating it to keep them focused, because it's usually the auditory stuff that distracts them in a household. And then when the child says to me, hey, Mom, can Cameron come over today? I can say, we are not talking about Cameron. We are talking about math right now. So what is, and then I repeat. But realistically, you can't be there like that all the time, especially when you have 4 kids. And I find myself bouncing around a lot when I homeschool. I'm constantly, especially with the core subjects. I can't always be there all the time. I do try to specifically, yeah, all my kids are perfectionists. They take after me. No, okay, sorry. That's another question. That was jokingly. I'll explain that. But if you can't stand next to them, I mean, there's always the idea of a basket of fidget toys that they can pull out and fidget with. There's also the idea of headphones. You can put headphones on them to keep them focused. You can bribe them. Oh, one that's really good is a timer. So we have a timer and it's got like a blue, like you could set it for 30 minutes and that 30 minutes is colored blue and they can see it ticking away. If you say to them, okay, today we're going to focus on math, like math, you are going to do as much math as you can for 15 minutes. You set the timer out, show it to them and say, go. So they do it, and also tell them after the 15 minutes, you're going to get a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break or a 15-minute break. So they're working to that break. If they're not on task for the full 15 minutes, then the next time you do it for 10 minutes. And try to, over a period of time, finding that happy medium where, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, what's going to be best for them. And then do the 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 15 minutes where they can work the full amount of time towards that break, being focused. Do that over a period of like a week. And then the following week, add 2 or 3 minutes. So instead of doing 15 minutes, you do 18 minutes the next week. And then stretch it out some more the following week, or kind of play with it. Or if stretching it out to 20 minutes is too long, shorten it back to 18. And so then after they do 15 minutes of math, they get their 10-minute break. Sit them back down, do 15 minutes of math, then they get their break. And so that's training them, that's training their brain to focus for a long period of time. And then the goal is over a course of a year or whatever, their focus is going to start extending beyond the 15 minutes. So that has been one of my favorites because I've seen that actually progress in our household. Of course, bribing them always, but you don't want to get in the habit of bribing them. Like, get your work done by 12 o'clock and you can have video games, like those kind of things also work. But I think there's better methods. Like, you want them to be able to help themselves. Like, if they find that they're not struggling, they can be like, okay, if I do 15-minute intervals, really hard work for 15 minutes, then I will accomplish this. You don't want them to sit there and go, okay, I'm gonna get this work done, and then I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna buy myself like a Starbucks coffee, which we do that, but I don't, because I don't like Starbucks. But they're gonna get in the habit of rewarding themselves when it should be the process that's rewarding itself, if that makes sense. I hope that answered the question. Let me go back to the chats. Okay, dawdle through the work. Okay. How is it different working around therapists? How is it different working around therapists? I don't know exactly what you mean by that question. So I'm guessing like working with them or having different therapists with different philosophies or just having therapists that like to give me feedback that I disagree with. So I fired one of them that did that. I shouldn't say that. I didn't fire her. It just wasn't working out for her. She's a good therapist. She is. She really is. I shouldn't say that about her. But it wasn't working for us, and so we got rid of her. No, we didn't get rid of her. That's really bad. I shouldn't say that. We decided that it just wasn't working out, and so we switched over. But it wasn't her fault completely. Had a lot to do with the company she was under, I should say. So that's, but each different therapist. So we're lucky because her OT, her PT, and her aqua therapist PT all work together under the same company and they meet weekly. And her speech therapist is an independent and she actually communicates with her other therapist. And so that really works well. All of them actually support homeschooling, except for one right now, but she's temporary because Naomi's occupational therapist that she loved went on maternity leave. So the one that stepped in, I don't know if she completely agrees with the homeschooling. She's a great therapist, but she's temporary. And I actually really like her. Until well, she hasn't. I'm gonna stop talking. I like a lot of her philosophies. I really do. I should say that. And I like her as a person. She's a great person. See, that's when I would have edited that part out. All right. Are any of your children perfectionists? My son gets very upset with himself if he does something wrong. Yeah. I try to assure him that it is normal. Oh, I lost it. That it is normal and happens to everyone. Yes, I do have perfectionists in the household. Yeah. I'm a perfectionist too. I try to model the best I can how I cope, and then I try to help give them some ideas on how to work through it. Lately, it's just hard because it has to get in their hearts. They have to realize that they're not perfect and nobody's perfect and nothing they say or do or whatever is going to change that about them. And they're always going to make mistakes. And it's just, I think I have to take it a moment at a time and a situation at a time. And when those teachable moments happen, then we take those, we talk about it, and we kind of push through. My daughter, not Naomi, the other one, and I don't really ever talk about her. She is so particular with every little thing that she's almost embarrassed for people to see what she's accomplished because she's worried they're going to find one little mistake. And so we've been working with her on trying to get her more. Okay, so she is an amazing singer. And I've been working with her on trying to sing more in public, but she's also a perfectionist about it. So it's one of those things where like she loves singing, she loves everything about it, and she sings around the house. It drives everybody crazy, not because it's bad. It's actually very good singing, but it's just that she does it all the time. And so I'm taking that gifting that she has of singing and that love that she has for singing and finding a way for her to work through some of her like insecurities about not being perfect. And then we've talked a lot about, who is our God? Like, who is our, are we our own God? Because we are always going to fail and screw up and sin. And so we've actually been working through some stuff like character building spiritually and just understanding that we're not perfect. And when we start to try and strive to be perfect, we're trying to make ourselves out to be little gods. And we're not. So we need to just embrace who we are and stop trying to worry about glorifying ourselves, but instead glorifying the Messiah. So Jesus. So that's kind of what I do with them. And so we've talked about that. We've been kind of talking about that a lot. Okay, next question. But I get the perfectionist thing. I get to be a little bit of a perfectionist myself. But I think YouTube is curing me of that a lot because I put myself out there. Like right now, I know I'm talking to you, and the only bit of makeup I have is my lipstick. I think I have some leftover mascara on, and the lighting is really bad in this room. And I'm sitting here judging the way I look the whole time I'm talking to you. But I'm putting myself out here, and I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not perfect. Okay. Where was I? My 4-year-old daughter with Down syndrome has a very hard time sitting still while I'm reading to her. Yep. Give her a toy. Give her a puzzle. No, puzzles for, well, she might do it at 4. You know what? This is so bad. You know what I do? I give her like a cup of veggie straws. Like when I really like when that's like the end all be all to my day. Like when I've just about had it and all I want to do is just read this book to my kids. And I want them all to be quiet. I pull out little plastic cups and dump a bunch of veggie straws in there and just like play pass the cup. And with Naomi, like I just refill as we go. Oh yeah, that's what I do. So other than that, like I'll bring, see, and that's what's so hard too, is like my husband, sometimes I just like, is it with the books that you read her? I try to find books that she likes and I make a lot of facial expressions and I get really excited. And if she doesn't want to do it, then I go, I guess we're not doing it right now. But I always try to end, I go one more page and we're going to end when I want to end. Because sometimes like with kids that I hate stereotyping and I don't like to stereotype because all kids are different. Even with Down syndrome, all of them are different, but there tends to be a little bit more stubbornness involved. And I'm not just saying that because somebody, I mean, all of her therapists have told me that, and even other parents tell me that. And I know that that's not true. No, other parents that have kids with Down syndrome tell me this. Therapists that work with kids that have Down syndrome tell me this. And even when I'm learning this So Happy to Learn program, they don't use the word stubborn, but they basically say it's a thing. I just, if she's done with something, I try to be the one that finishes it. And then I let her go do her thing. And I've learned for her, with her scheduling and stuff, she works better in the mornings with school or anything where we have to sit. So I find the time of day that works best for her. And I try to do those things during that time of day. But veggie straws are amazing. And then books that she likes. And I noticed there's a lot of books that she gravitates to that she likes. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. We also got the book, the Chicka Chicka Boom Boom book. And we got the palm tree. And so we'll go through the book and she'll stick things onto the palm tree as we go through the book. So there's a little bit of application to it. When my husband is doing devotionals in the morning, Naomi will sit in my lap and we will color and I'll talk her through things and try to get her, even though my husband's talking to like middle schoolers, upper elementary, and a 3rd grader, she doesn't understand what's going on. So we'll do things like, I'm trying to just really I don't know. I'm using some of the Answers to Genesis stuff with her for her to color anyway, but coloring has been working for her. And the basket of toys, when she does something right or when she sits down and listens properly, I'll let her have a reward at the end. And the default has always been veggie straws, which is, like I said, that's the default. Oh, but what I was saying before is the sitting with her. And if she sits, I use that timer too. If she sees, I do like 4 or 5 minutes, not much. She sees it go off, she hears the beep, then she can play with her toys. We close up whatever we're doing and she plays with her toys I'll set the timer again for 5 minutes and she plays a little bit. And then, good to know, Publix has veggie straws on BOGO this week. Yes. But what no, that is really good to know because I got to go to Publix tomorrow. I really do. You can tell I'm getting tired. Like physically tired. It's nap time, bedtime. and I usually stay up till 1 a.m. I don't know why I'm feeling fatigue right now, but I've had a long day. Anyway, so yeah, so that's when she's getting to the end of, or with the book. Okay, reading the book. We sit down, read the book. She gets antsy. I go 5 more minutes, set the timer for 5 minutes. We sit still for 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, you get to have a reward. And then I make it a point to give her that reward. She plays with it. And I said, the timer goes off, we're going to get back to reading. She plays with it for a little bit. Timer goes off. Okay, we're going to read for 5 more minutes. And then I set the timer and we do it. I make a big deal about things. I use a lot of facial expressions. I get really excited about things. I found with her, like if I'm excited about what we're doing, she gets excited about what we're doing. And sometimes that's the only way I can get her motivated to do anything, is like making things a really big deal and sound like it's the best thing in the world. Like, yeah. Oh, hi, Dad. Hi, Dad. My dad's on. Let's see. Who else? Now my dad's on. I got to be careful, right? I got to watch what I say about anything. Okay, so going back to the questions. Okay, let's see. Thank you. You love my shirt. Where did I get it? I have no idea. Probably one of those online. I ordered every once in a while the online stores. That's where I got my shirt. This is my mom's shirt. It's getting, see, you got me like today. You got me total mom mode. At least I took a shower for you guys tonight. Okay. Not in school related. How do you do a final evaluation if they are set to graduate at the end of the year as well? They don't have to have one. You close out, you send them the termination letter, and you make a diploma. That's it. You don't have to do an end of the year evaluation. It's done. In fact, by law, like at the age of 16, you don't have to do anymore. But I know a lot of parents will continue doing them until they graduate just because they want it on file. And that's always the parent's choice. And so, in colleges, the requirements for college are changing every single day. I know in the state of Florida, all the Florida colleges, whether it's public or private or community or whatever, they have to, by law, recognize a homeschool diploma and homeschool transcripts as 100% valid. So, yeah, that's law. So that's really, that's reassuring for us, homeschool parents. Okay. I think okay, my oldest loves listening to books. This is Tiffany. My oldest loves listening to books. He will listen all day if possible. He understands and remembers, but I need to cover certain subjects. Also, he needs grammar writing skills. Yeah. Oh, my comments disappeared again. Okay. Do you have any suggestions on how to make that work for both his wants and the requirements we need to meet for the state? Are you in Florida? He will listen to him all day. Tiffany, are you in Florida? Oh, no, because you might be one of those like Texas that you have to do certain subjects. Because Texas has like 3 main subjects. Eldest listens to books and you listen all day. He understands, remembers, but I need to cover. Is there a way that you can do like Charlotte Mason style where you're doing the subjects through books? I actually know of, and I know like it's easy to do history, easy to do science with books. Sorry, I'm reading comments. Definitely history, definitely science with books, devotionals, all those things with books. Math is hard. There have been many, many times homeschool families that will use Life of Fred as their homeschool curriculum, which is mathematics. And they will use nothing but Life of Fred. I can't talk. Life of Fred. They won't use anything but Life of Fred for their mathematics. So that's always an option. I didn't see how old was he. How old was he? Oldest. He's oldest. I would just try to find, I would do Charlotte Mason. I would look into the Charlotte Mason philosophy of schooling. Grammar skills, she does like, just, I would really look into Charlotte Mason if you haven't. Tiffany, you said no, and now I don't remember what I asked you. You're not in Florida. That's what I asked you. All right. Look at Charlotte Mason. That's what I would suggest. I don't know if that helps. Okay, Tiffany. Washington. Do you still have to do the testing? Because I remember, oh my gosh, 12 different, oh, he's 12 years old. I'm going to ask you all these questions. I remember I knew someone from Washington State, and they said they had to do the testing, and she was terrified. Her story was really cool because she was bedridden from pregnancy, and all she did was read. Oh, this might be a fun story for you. All she did was read to the kid, all her kids, and they didn't do anything else. And then when they went to go take their standardized tests, they excelled above, and the leap that they made was bigger than they had ever made. And that was her story. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember she said, if I'm not mistaken, she was saying that if they don't make any gains on the test, that they would have to go back to public school. But I didn't probe anymore. Sorry, I have a pencil right there. I didn't probe anymore. But to me, that would be really stressful. But I know that this lady just read to her kids. She read to her kids. That's all she did while she was on bed rest from pregnancy. And they did leaps and bounds. And so her point for the whole story that she was sharing with me is that that's how powerful reading is. So did that answer your question? I would look at Charlotte Mason. And let me check. I'm getting lots of text messages. And they're interfering. Okay, you are the best. Thanks for taking time. Yeah, this is fun. I'm sorry I'm getting tired. I'm like so embarrassed. I'm like, huh? I'm getting tired. It's been like a really long day. Yeah. Amblesite Online, that's a good one too. Getting started. I 100% agree. That's a great one. Yeah, so I'm hoping that like I can do these once every Sunday. Just like I said, I'm really into just investing in people. And if I need to have like a cup of coffee, I don't drink coffee, but my dad's on here and he's like, yeah, you do. You drink coffee when you come to my house because I only drink coffee when I go to your house. But if I need a cup of coffee, and I enjoy this, like this to me is fun actually, to just help like talk to you guys. And so I'm going to do this for the next month, see how it goes. So do you guys also let me know? Okay, side note. Yes, agree with Belinda. Thank you so much. Yay, you're welcome. Also, let me know what you guys need from me, like video-wise, like videos you want to see. I'm editing one right now. I think it's really good because I talk about isolation, not isolation, but like loneliness that we feel as homeschool parents, but also as homeschooling kids that have special needs, and speaking into like the idea of that we're lonely and that we're designed for community and stuff. So it's really, I think it's good. I don't know. I'm also looking into doing, I really want to do conventions. I really want to speak at conventions. I know family comes first and I got to take care of them, but like, you know, if there's a couple I could do a year, it would be awesome. Recommendations for language arts for autism. I don't know where on the spectrum they are. And so that would vary also from personality to personality. Language arts. We talked about spell to read to write. And we also talked about, no, we didn't talk about learning language, learning literature through language arts. Nope, learning language arts through literature. That's what I was, moderate to severe. Okay, there's a program. I almost want to ask my sister-in-law what she used as wow, I can't talk. English is hard. She used read to write to spell. That's what she used with him. He would be moderate. But he got obsessed with grammar. She also used that brain building program. Forgot the name of the author. It was called Brain Builders or something like that. I gotta look it up. And then learning language arts through literature is really good for just general, any kind of special needs or disability, or I just think it's a very calm approach. The lady who wrote it, her daughter had, I think it was dyslexia, but I think it was there was something else too. It was a learning disability. I think it was just a straight up learning disability. What did they call it? Slow learner. I think it was labeled that way back in the day. SLD, slow learning disability. That's SLD. They just labeled back then. Yeah, it's a really good program, and it's very relaxing. There's a lot of reading. I don't know if he relates to a lot of kinesthetic stuff. They can do lap books. Lap books are good. You might be able to find something on Teacher Pay Teachers with lap books. And that's interesting. That's really interesting, because my nephew, I mean, he was like, he did Logic of English, I think is, now that it's coming back. It's coming back. He did, they got into Logic of English, and they did, was it Shirley English? But that's like intense stuff. Shirley English is pretty intense, and Logic of English is pretty intense. What's the other one that he did? A Well-Trained Mind. She was trying them out. Like, she was trying different ones to find what works for him. But I think he's out of that stage. He is now 13. I had to think about it. And he is pursuing, well, we think he is, we don't know. He wants to be a cartoonist. And so pretty much his curriculum is drawing and cartooning, and she lets him do that a lot of the time. But he's got like some of those basic skills. I gotta ask her what she's using now for English. Now that I'm thinking about it, what did she settle on? Because with sister-in-laws, we just talk a lot about a lot of things, and we never like really get down to what we're doing right now. And we definitely we homeschool nerd out on each other, so it's kind of cool. So I've talked for almost an hour and a half. Okay, any more comments? Did I answer your questions? I hope I did. Okay, there's no more questions. So if you wanted to write something in, I'm going to slowly start to close out. And if there's a question that pops up, I'll answer it. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to do this again next Sunday at 9:30. I'm going to do 9:30 p.m. and I'll try to get sleep. We had a birthday party today. I went to the gym. I had to take care of kids, so it's time for bed. And we had a skating birthday party that we went to, and I didn't get to skate. I was kind of sad. I didn't get to skate. I spent time with Naomi. What did we do? You're welcome. Yes, I would. Okay, good. I wanted to I was actually waiting to see if you were going to answer my question, knowing that I answered your question. I just wanted to make sure I answered your question. So I was stalling. Did you see that? I was. Okay. All right, cool. So, yeah. So hopefully next Sunday I won't be so like, I'll try to wear more makeup and not wear a mom shirt. So anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Of course, if this is a replay, next week at 9:30, and I'll go ahead and sign out. I will see you guys later. Thanks for sticking around with me, and Have a great rest of your week. And now I got to figure out how to turn, I do know how to turn this on. Yay, I'm so excited. Good, I'm so glad. Yeah, think of questions, and like if you have any things that you want to keep private, like email me. And my email is in the description box. So, and because I know a lot of parents want to keep things private. So, and I'll do the best I can, like, to answer them. So, yeah. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, guys. Take care. Bye.